Let's talk about the Young Avengers. Back in the mid-2000s, the comic industry was, well, it was an industry. It wasn't doing particularly well, but it was doing better than it is now. The biggest issues facing comics in the 2000s were the lack of enthusiasm for superheroes, outside of the box office of course, and the print media exodus that self-declared experts claim is killing the industry today in 2019. However, there were some truly good comics to come out of the 2000s. You had to look a little harder, maybe bypass a few more shelves than you would have a decade earlier, but if you wanted to, you could find great books on the shelves in the 2000s. The Young Avengers, written by Allan Heinberg and published in 2005, was not actually one of them. It was a relatively unsuccessful YA launch that kinda sorta really seemed to be one of Marvel's many failed answers to the success of DC's Teen Titans TV show. Its main cast of characters features Iron Lad, Ant-Girl, Patriot, Kate, Wiccan, and Hulkling, all between ages 14 and 18, as would be expected in an attempt to generate a competitor to the Teen Titans. This comic was not made post-2012, so it is in fact readable. The writing is halfway decent in some spots and laughably incompetent in others, but the overall plot generally works, and Jim Cheung could probably draw 22 story pages of a sponge drying, and it would still be exciting and visually stimulating. The biggest failing points in Young Avengers are in plot holes, weak character motivations, and downright bad characters. I know what you're thinking, Spectre, stop hating on Wiccan and Hulkling. Hear me out. Now, contrary to the impression that you may have gotten from my review of Death's Head #1, I actually respect Wiccan and Hulkling. My concerns with their appearance in Death's Head was based on the way that these characters were handled and introduced. In particular, because they were introduced very suddenly and for seemingly no reason, and then Teenie Howard expresses their sexuality in the same panel which they are introduced. Wiccan and Hulkling in Death's Head are written as flippant and stupid. Many of their decisions make little to no sense, even when you take into account that one of Wiccan's character traits is recklessness. For example, Wiccan teleporting Death's Head into the bathroom at their apartment. I mean, sure, the kid set a cathedral on fire by accident when attempting to save the day at the Bishop wedding in Young Avengers #1, but that was his first rodeo. Reckless would have been teleporting Death's Head into space, teleporting him to Avengers HQ, or even just teleporting him a few feet to the right, as the teleportation itself is what momentarily shuts down Death's Head circuitry. And yet, Wiccan teleports the killer robot assassin into his own bathroom. Another irksome development is that after 15 plus years, Wiccan and Hulkling are still just trying to become Avengers. Here's a tip. The initiative is over. Tony no longer has brown shirt goon squads patrolling the streets and apprehending unregistered supers. So go do you. The worst part of this pair's portrayal in Death's Head #1, however, the portrayal of their sexuality. They are introduced as gay in the same panel as they are introduced as Wiccan and Hulkling. Not only that, but they give them bits of dialogue throughout the rest of the issue that seem really only to exist to succinctly remind the reader that Wiccan and Hulkling are gay for each other. Referring to each other as baby isn't even something that the heterosexual couples in Young Avengers ever did, and yet here we are in Death's Head seemingly over a decade later, and Wiccan and Hulkling sound very much like they were written by Sina Grace. I don't hate Wiccan and Hulkling. In fact, Wiccan and Hulkling may actually be the best part of the new Avengers. Hell, they might be the only good part of this trashily written attempt to get a YA TV show deal. Wiccan and Hulkling's relationship was, far and away, the best and most organic relationship written into the Young Avengers. Through the first 6 issues, Wiccan's concern for Hulkling is what initially led me to believe that there was something different between the two of them. Every time Hulkling was attacked in a fight, Wiccan would shout "Hulkling" and would usually come to his aid with a spell or by catching him as he fell. You started to notice that they were a natural pair, always together and very much in touch with one another's feelings. Towards issues 5 and 6, you even get some exchanging of longing gazes. And then in #7, the characters are finally revealed to be gay in an honestly funny situation in which they're trying to tell Wiccan's parents that they are superheroes. They go through the stereotypical dialogue of, "Mom, Dad, I have something important to tell you." But before they can say the words "we're superheroes," Wiccan's parents assume that they are coming out as gay. They interrupt Wiccan's confession saying, "Oh son, we've always known you were gay, and we want you to know that we will always love you no matter what." I lost my shit. Even the relatively ho-hum dialogue of Wiccan's father, "Welcome to the family, Ted, how do you like your eggs?" is excusable after this hilarious kerfuffle. These are the parents of a teenager who is obviously troubled, although they don't truly understand why, and they're just trying to support him. There weren't 3 pages of dialogue about how proud they were to have raised such a brave and special child. There weren't any literal Nazis wearing frog patches and red hats that appeared to accost Wiccan and Hulkling for being gay. Their sexuality had exactly nothing to do with the major storyline, nor was it even the main focus of their personalities. This was just a pair of superheroes who happened to be gay, and they happened to fall in love with each other in what I happen to believe is a very organic and believable way. Now, is it totes racist to immediately associate someone who has green skin with the Hulk? Kinda. Did Wiccan's updated costume look like Vincent Valentine in Dirge of Cerberus wearing a Naruto headband? Inarguably. But edgy costumes and Hulktural appropriation aside, what these characters lacked in design tact, they actually more than made up for in, well, character. And character, unfortunately, is something that is in relatively short supply in Young Avengers. Take Iron Lad. He's Kang, but small. Kang the Conqueror went back in time and told young Kang that he was destined to be Kang, but Kang didn't want to be Kang, so he became Iron Lad and went back in time to join the Avengers. But the Avengers were disbanded, and he couldn't get Tony to talk to him, so he decided to break into old Avengers Mansion and hack into the Vision's remains, which haven't been moved, in order to find a special file that literally nobody else knew about, that contained the locations of superpowered children who would become the new Avengers when the Avengers died or were disbanded. Why weren't they already becoming the new Avengers, considering the old Avengers had died or were disbanded? Why didn't young Kang just use the armor that he stole from the future to get Tony's attention? Why wasn't the Vision's body moved, but just left on the floor in a heap in Avengers Mansion? The answers to all these questions and more... Ha! Never! The entire Kang thing is just stupid and fucked. Time travel is stupid, and it makes for stupid stories. When young Kang comes calling for big Kang to bring him back to the future so he can be Kang, he says that Kang Lad running away from the future will alter the time stream, and both Kangs being in the same time and place could destroy the fabric of the universe. So when Kang started this very story that we are reading right now, why did he not only go back to the same place and time as his past self, but also attempt to murder a child in order to make himself Kang before he was meant to become Kang and alter the time stream? Not that this is inconsistent with Kang Lad deciding that the Kang life isn't for him and dipping out to the 21st century, but you would think that Kang the motherfucking Conqueror would have better things to do than retcon his own origin story. And then when they send Kid Kang back to the future trademark, he leaves his 30th century armor in the 21st century because, quote, I couldn't bring it back to my time, assumedly because it's more advanced than his time, except it's obviously also more advanced than the 21st century. They don't even leave it with Tony or the Avengers. The Young Avengers just keep it as a memento. This all-too-welcome conclusion to Kang's storyline leaves the Young Avengers down one teammate, and they get around that when the Vision is reincarnated in Iron Kang's armor, instead of his body, which is still on the goddamn floor in Avengers Mansion. Patriot is the hard-ass, literally Black Captain America's grandson. He tells people that his powers come from a blood transfusion from his grandfather, when in actuality he got his powers from drugs. He is also one of the few blips in Jim Cheung's artwork in this book series because he looks like someone stapled a 40-year-old's head to a 15-year-old's body. I understand that they're telling a steroid allegory, but the entire time I just kept thinking that he should man the fuck up, put on some Kevlar, and tough it out like ya boy Night Thrasher. Rest in peace, Dwayne. Ant-Girl Cassie Lang, daughter of Ant-Man Scott Lang, has growy shrinky powers, which she gained because, and I quote, I've been stealing Pym particles from my dad for like years. Supremely unclear, however, is why she was doing that. Maybe her boyfriend had a case of the Pimpine, know what I'm saying? Wait, how old is Cassie again? Whoa! Forget I said anything. What the fuck is it with Pym-related stories and sexualizing minors? God, just fucking creeps. I can't help but feel like there's a character, or lack thereof, that I'm forgetting. Someone who ended up being rather important to the beginning of the end of Marvel Comics as we know them. Oh, right! Kate fucking Bishop is in this comic. Yeah, Kate fucking Bishop. Remember West Coast Avengers? Remember Kate Bishop Hawkeye? No? Neither do most, but if you've been involved in critiquing or reviewing comics, you might remember her as being a spoiled rich girl who can aim good, but mostly just talks about food or herself, and constantly emasculates her male predecessor. Well, my friends, this is the first appearance of Kate Bishop. This is her origin story, and it is exactly what you would expect. Kate became a Young Avenger by inserting herself into an active hostage situation, getting supremely lucky, and stabbing a man who was holding her at gunpoint. This barely works and almost gets her killed. Nevertheless, she persisted in bringing it up constantly, and everyone except Patriot acknowledges how OMG amazing she is for further jeopardizing everyone's lives via unnecessary escalation. Despite the fact that she is barely a Young Avenger, mostly through her own assertion that she is a Young Avenger, she still can't be bothered to come up with a code name 10 issues in. Constantly validating herself, talking herself up, being abrasive, demanding more credit than she deserves, always making the situation worse, and in the random occurrence that she fixes it afterwards, she never stops praising herself for it. Young Avengers was Kate Bishop Ground Zero, the beginning of a reign of terror that would claim the lives of several unsuccessful miniseries and the dignity of OG Hawkeye. When you look at Young Avengers back in 2005, it makes you wonder, was this SJW Marvel patient -1? All the pieces were there. Questionable story, questionable characters, LGBT representation, Kate Bishop. But they hadn't developed into the heavily layered onion of social grievances that Marvel became around the year 2015. Was this because the writer had good intentions and just wanted to tell a good story and this was the best way that he knew how? Or perhaps was this the failed framework and scaffolding of SJW Marvel being erected right in our faces 10 years earlier than we'd previously thought? I'm not going to claim to know for sure, so I'll leave that up to you. I know this is very different from my normal videos. I'm just trying out a new format so that I can try to diversify some of the content on my channel. And if you like this kind of video, hit the like button, leave a comment, and if enough people liked it, I will do more videos like this. I'm the Spectre of Comics, spirit of justice and vengeance for the murdered comic book industry, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, hit up my Patreon because these comics are getting expensive. Thank you, as always, for watching.